Okay, and welcome to another episode. Gotta stop saying another episode. Just welcome to an episode of Marveling in the Madness. Yes, another great introduction that we have. Absolutely phenomenal. We got myself, Steve, and we got Dominic in the building. We're just gonna move on from that introduction straight
Uh,
away.
that was, I think, the best introduction we've done yet.
I think I mumbled through all of it, so we
Yeah,
might do it
it was
at the end and
brilliant.
do it in post. Who knows?
How are you doing anyway, Steve?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm all right. It's been a bit of a long week of work this week, but which gets us on nicely to a nice topic that I wanted to talk about.
Long week. It's only Wednesday.
I
No,
tell me
no.
about it.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah, working hours are just crazy these days, aren't they? Sometimes. So Tuesday I was in London, so I spent the day. Set off at 5 o'clock, got back about 8:30 at night. Well, actually, I left at 5:30 to be fair.
Mm.
Casual 15-hour day. I don't do it all the time, in fairness, but like, why do we do it to ourselves?
Because you're all idiots.
Well, we are that.
Yeah,
I could,
in the nicest way possible.
we're all doing it to make some random dude somewhere some money or
Yep.
lady, and it's like, really, like some jobs, fair enough. We got some jobs that like they're putting a lot of time in, and it's really necessary work. I'm not saying my work's not necessary to a degree, like building stuff is important, but
Yeah.
do we really need to do stupid hours? Probably not.
No, but I think it's just a societal thing more than anything else. We've all got this sort of grind mindset. Like we just got to be on the go, just keep working, working, working. Like there's no, they always talk about a work-life balance, but they say if you actually want to get anywhere in life, there's not really a work-life balance. You just got to keep, this whole grinding 15-hour work day, which I think is ridiculous because you're not really capable of running at that all the time. At some point you're going to have a breakdown, so either you're not getting enough sleep or, you're not socializing, which is, what we're meant to do as humans.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, I just think, like, do I do a lot of work in that? Like, the next few days, am I as productive as if I just did like a 8-hour day and then went home, had a nice rest, so I could do another 8-hour day the next day? I probably do. You're going to probably end up doing less work in all truth because you're so burnt out from the days where you do really long hours. Some jobs that obviously, if you're doing site work and things or like laboring work, then maybe you can do it, but I don't think you can because even then your body's burning out ridiculously.
Well, I
But,
also just think you can only focus on something for so long, and then you're either going to make mistakes, which is then not good for your work because then you have to go back and correct mistakes and then makes the process twice as long, if not three times as long. So I feel like, the day could probably be a bit shorter. Yes, you might get less done, but you also might make less mistakes because the moment you get tired, mistakes will happen or injuries or anything of that nature, depending on the nature of the job.
yeah, I don't work that many hours compared to some people, and I also do 4.5 days a week technically because I have every other Friday off. So I really can't moan, and my lifestyle is pretty good. But
Oh, I'm
I,
talking more like just broad spectrums. Like I know the people that work quite crazy days and crazy hours. So again, myself, I'm quite fortunate. I think I only do five, sometimes six. So
yeah,
that's how it goes.
I did work out. I work even though I do 9 days in 10. I worked out I still do more than the standard hours, which I think is 37 and a half, isn't it, as a normal working week?
Something like that. I think it's
Uh,
35 now, something like that.
something like that. Anyway, I've worked out I do more than that doing 9 days and then
You
and
got to think
doing 10.
it will soon add up if you're doing 15-hour days,
Yeah, I don't even include that. That's just my
including your
standard
family
hours.
and whatnot. You know.
Yeah, I do think I thought I'm actually at the moment currently because I'm doing this every week. I'm actually doing that extra day. I'm making up my hours just on those 2 days I travel down to London every week. It's crazy, but
Yeah.
anyway, it's what we do for our work. We have a weird level of commitment to these things, don't we? Everyone's like, it's almost expected, like, go and put many hours in to benefit the company, otherwise you're not shown to be working hard enough. Or
Well, yeah, it's not only that, and you got to think like most jobs don't really show your loyalty. They're ready to replace you the next day if they can. So, if you're not um if you're not being up to par, then there's places. I'm not saying all places, but that's how most places work.
That's true.
It's quite sad. That's something you dedicate a lot of your time to. In most cases, people quite a lot of time. People would spend 50 plus years in a job and just think one day they're just like, yeah, we don't want you anymore. You don't fit our brand, blah, 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 which is just crazy.
It is, yeah. Yeah, but still, you're irreplaceable, mate. Especially that smile you got going on there.
I don't know about irreplaceable.
There ain't no one like you, that's for certain.
No, we don't want to build the ego. We don't. we don't want to build the ego. That's not a good thing. It's not a good thing.
Oh dear. Oh, the things we do. No, just yeah, I'm feeling it today anyway because of the 2 days. The one day in London yesterday has left me a bit mad. So if I come up out with some random nonsense tonight, I did think of another random thing by the way tonight.
Okay,
and it's completely unrelated to the thing we were just talking about.
that's fine. Well, we'll slide into the next one, which I'm sure you'll be a little bit more familiar with. So obviously, going into February now, we're looking at Six Nations.
Yeah.
And I started looking more into the rugby news. Well, just on my BBC feed, other apps are available, obviously. And started looking at obviously the England squads, not English, but I'll give them my support. Still think France are probably favourites because they're pretty much winning everything at the moment. So, and it should look a good team. But some things surprised me. So obviously you got your new manager, Stevie Boy. He's left out Benny Villapola, Jack May, and I can't remember the other one. Something Noel. Is it Jack Noel?
Johnny May and Jack Noel, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you said Jack May. You just
combining a few. Yeah.
Combining a few names.
But some surprising names left out, Normally there's some of the regulars, and then obviously you look at some of your injuries as well. So you got Courtney Laws, I think Elliot Daly as well. So it's looking quite interesting to see what squad you actually put out. Haven't looked at any team releases as of yet, even if they have any yet. I don't know.
I don't think the teams are. I think they've done their selections, obviously. And we've had to replace quite a few, as you say, with injuries in the England team. I think it'd be it. I think it'll enforce a few interesting selections. Although I think we have a good team in terms of the selections we do have. I think we have quite a good team. I think we're quite weak at hooker potentially. So that might be an area of weakness. I think Courtney Laws, although he's a big loss, we've probably got good players in those positions to replace them. But so he'd probably, I don't know where the Courtney Laws would have played. I don't know where Steve Borthwick sees him. He used to be a second row mostly, but a lot of the time they've been playing him as number 6. So I don't know if they were going to play him there or in the second row, but we've got a really good back line, or should have, even without the Billy Vunipolos of the world and the Courtney Laws. I think they'll probably want to play it looks like Steve Borthwick's going to pick quite a quick mobile team. So like their number 8 has picked a quite quick and mobile. And so are like most of the players that he's picked. Obviously there's a few big bruisers in there. I think Manu's in the team from memory, in the selection. So it'll be interesting to see if he picks him or not. Sometimes obviously you need a bit of bulk here and there because it does help you get across the gain line, but so does footwork these days, more so than.
I think you need a good mixture of both.
Yeah, I think so. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Did you see they're also trying to introduce a lower tackle height below the waist in the RFU?
I saw it, but I didn't really look into it.
No, I haven't read it much. But
I saw the headline and said it leaves some people confused, and then we're going to start this course. I was like, yeah, I'm sure Dom's read it because I haven't.
Yeah, I didn't read the whole lot, but it looks like I think they're going to try it in the lower leagues in the amateur game to reduce the tackle height below the waist, which is, you can see the logic behind it to try and reduce the head-on-head collisions and the head collisions, but by doing it, you might put people's heads in the way of legs quite a lot, and if they don't get the technique right, it could lead to some nasty head injuries. So
yeah, I feel like really going to win either way because accidents are going to happen regardless. You know,
Yeah.
people in their mindset run away with the game. So tackle technique is probably the last thing on their mind. They're just want to crush that man over there. So we'll
Or
have to wait and see how it works out.
I'm just going to put my body in the way of that massive
Yeah,
lump coming at me. I will use myself as a speed hump. That's what a lot of
pretty much
the
how
backs
it
do
goes.
quite a lot of the time. It's quite
Well,
amusing
just
to
look at
watch.
Southgate. Obviously, he's one of the smaller guys. And yeah, he puts himself in some troubling positions sometimes. I just look at him like, what are you doing? Sometimes going head first into tackle, like, where are your hands, man? Just use your hands. Put your hands,
Use
that's fine.
use those bits of the body you're meant to use, not your head.
Oh, funny guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess at some point they might even look at what introducing helmets like they've done in the American football, but that
I
would
hope
that'd make the game quite different, I think, as a spectacle as well. So
I really hope not.
maybe I suppose it depends what they do and how they do it, but it could be interesting.
Time will tell.
Yeah, but yeah, back to the selection. Sorry, I sidetracked the conversation there.
It's all
Um,
good.
I'm quite excited for the Six Nations. I think it should be good. I'm hoping we can get a good run. Not with Steve Borthwick in charge. I think we could get a bit of cohesion and a bit of. There's someone, I think one of the newspapers, I can't remember who it was talking about it, said sort of like you get that new coach effect where you get sort of instant improvements. Usually, sometimes you get the opposite where you get a new coach and everyone just sucks. But
It's a lot of positivity and then you just suck.
you absolutely suck, as the rap famously says.
To be fair to him, he's not had a lot of time. So whatever he does, you're like, you might as well experiment and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I feel like he has to play with in a way with like nothing to lose because he's had so little time. So not saying it doesn't matter because they're not been winning anyway, but you might as well go with just try it out, see what happens, and then obviously try to formulate something before the World Cup happens.
Yeah, well, they brought Nick Evans in, haven't they, temporarily, who's the Harlequins coach, the attack coach. So that could be quite interesting because Harlequins play the brand of rugby that a lot of people want to see England play, which is sort of very expansive, very attacking. And I don't think they'll go quite that far. I think they'll still be a bit more kicking and control. And I think even the coach, Nick Evans, that they brought in has said that. But I do think you'll probably see a good attacking intent from England across the board. And I think Steve Borthwick's a really good coach in the sense that he also knows he gets his selections right and he gets his appointments right for his coaches generally, I think. So he appoints people that sort of fill in his weaknesses. And I think he's quite aware of his own weaknesses and where he needs people to bridge that gap. So obviously brought in Kevin Sinfield to be like that inspirational leader. Whereas Steve Borthwick, I think, is more the detail kind of guy, but he's got Kevin Sinfield who like runs stupidly long distances for charity too. You can't really get much more than his superhuman efforts, as everyone always says. It's impressive. But then there's obviously, as you said, there's. Sorry, Will.
No, I was just gonna say that maybe that's the thing you need, like I said, that little spark of inspiration.
A flark of inspiration. Yeah, I think, as you say though, France could do well. Ireland could. Ireland are playing phenomenally well. I think they're number one ranked team in the world at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if they win the Six Nations either. Scotland tend to have some phenomenal games and then have some terrible games. That just seems to be their favourite way of playing the game.
And then you have the dark horse. So it's always Wales. You can't rule him out. Never really rule him out.
Especially now they got Warren Gatland back. I suspect they'll probably get a few gritty wins under their belts, a bit like Ospreys managed to achieve over Tigers this Friday. But yeah, I don't know. I think the one thing for certain, I imagine Italy will come last, unless they beat Wales again, but that might be unheard of. Although, to be fair to Italy, they're improving as well, so they could get a scalp of someone. One of the big teams may drop a game to them.
They were more entertaining to watch last year. I'll happily give them that.
Yeah, so it's shaping up to be a good tournament, and I think we can hopefully get some good rugby out of it.
Yeah, Well, that's what I was thinking the other day. I was like, I'm just getting excited. There's going to be some rugby on TV again. So happy days.
Yeah,
Happy days.
why not enjoy some good rugby?
Okay. So what is the other topic you want to speak about? Let's uh just self-brand off topic.
But do you ever think about how much useless junk you hoard? Are you a hoarder of useless junk like me?
Um, no.
Because I keep so much stuff. Some of it's not useless. It is useless, but it's like so. Like every Christmas, I keep like nearly all my Christmas cards year after year
That's kind of ridiculous.
for like mementos, especially from like family things. I'm like, am I
Oh,
ever really going to look at these again? Am I going like in 30 years' time? I'm going to get all these cards out and go,
are you scared you're not going to see another Christmas? So you need to hold it so dearly.
I think it's some weird like sentimental connection I have to think when I get given a gift or something, I'm like, ooh, this is sentimental. I must keep it. I feel like I'd offend them if I throw it out, probably. I don't know,
I
it's weird.
kind of get that. Like, I'm not that way with Christmas cards, but I definitely have an old box of like birthday cards till I was like maybe 17, I think, and I like little random gifts. So I can kind of get it, but I just don't get it with Christmas cards. I'm just like, it's a waste of cardboard in the first place, in my opinion. It doesn't matter the intention; it's a waste of cardboard. Like, thank you. You could have just said Happy New. You could have just said Happy Christmas or whatever. I would appreciate it just as much because now I know we can recycle stuff, but I don't almost feel like I have to write you one as well. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that at all. To be honest, it takes way too much time.
What you're basically saying is you're incredibly lazy and you don't want to write people other cards if they've given you one.
100%. Modern day, mate. I'm gonna send you a message. Merry Christmas. Problem solved. Yes, I
So,
might have used some energy to do that, but I'm not cutting down trees to make Christmas cards, am I?
that's true. Although I think messages use quite a bit of energy, but there we go.
Yeah, well, plenty of that to go around, isn't it? Big old sun out there, solar panels. We can go back and forth if you want.
Yeah, it just made me. I was just chuckling to myself. I was like, I keep so much stuff. Like one day, I'm just gonna get to a point. I imagine I will just throw it away. But could you imagine, like, when I die, if I have kids or something, or whoever's looking after my inheritance, I just pick it all up and go. He had 80 years of Christmas cards, and he's never looked at them since the time he put them in the box.
Yeah, that would be utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice to keep some like from your wife.
Still around, and you have kids. I'm gonna tell them your dad was ridiculous.
I am bad. It's even to the extent I'm really bad actually. I'm trying to get better, and I am. I'm throwing things away more, but like I keep even stupid things like calendars. So someone gives me calendars every year, and I'm like, I keep them. I'm like, oh, those photos are nice. I could do something with that. Do I ever? Absolutely not.
No.
I just have a load of calendars.
I say random. Suppose the only thing I do it with is cables, but you're always gonna need cables for something. So I feel like that's very smart.
Yeah, but
It's like HDMI cables, charging cables. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna keep those.
how many of your cables have you got that you don't ever use?
Yeah, it's because everything's in working order, so I have spare. What kind of question is that? If that one was to break, then I have a spare. Boom, we're good to go.
You have like 30
Package?
cables that you've not used for the last 20 years.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. Most of them are just basic chargers or HDMI cables because I have a tendency to lose them or people picking them up.
Yeah, I have time for HDMI cables. Although most chargers, for some reason, all phone manufacturers seem to want their own style
Oh
of
yeah,
charging.
so those will be like no void in probably 5 years' time, with the next generation of phones. So that means I could probably get rid of them at that point.
Nice. I am trying to be better because I have realized I'm an incredibly bad hoarder. Not like incredibly bad. I don't like have stacks of newspapers all around my house or anything like that, but like bad enough that I'm like I've got a lot of junk that I'm never gonna look at. I should probably get rid of some of this junk.
Fair enough. Well, I'm glad you're working on that.
Thank you. I
I'm
thought
happy with
I
that
thought it
too.
was amusing to myself though.
No,
Oh,
it's quite funny.
my wife also, because she's a primary school teacher, the life of a husband of a primary school teacher or wife of a primary school teacher is that you have to ask if anything that is in the house that may be junk, so like yogurt pots and things, you have to say, "Are you keeping this?" Just on the off chance that they're going to take it into
Yeah,
school
that's a
for
little
some
bit.
art project.
That's a bit different. I get you.
So, it's like every time we get a yogurt pot, this I'm like, "Wife, are you keeping this one, or is this one going in the bin?" So kitchen rolls, yeah, the centers of kitchen rolls, keep those. Got to remember to keep those. They're good quality tubes. They are.
Okay.
I've learned that lesson
The
now.
more you know.
Yeah. The more you know.
The
Yogurt
more you
pots.
know.
That's quite regularly kept. A yogurt pot
Okay.
and quality street wrappers. You know the coloured wrappings.
Yeah.
They're quite good for artwork, I think. So yeah, if you
Oh, I
ever
know what to get you for Christmas. It's just getting easier every year.
just buy yourself just buy yourself some quality streets, eat the chocolates, and give the wrappers to me.
That's it. Like, oh, here's some empty yogurt pots as well, mate. Treat yourself. There you go. Why not? Easy life.
Thanks. I'm just going to say it's not me you're treating; it's my wife.
No, you come as one now. If you're married as one, that's how it works.
That's
That's
true.
how
I
it works.
suppose I should get these gifts as for her, really.
Yeah. Make her life
Thanks.
easy.
Thanks. It's just what I always wanted for Christmas, a load of yogurt pots.
Oh, I might even write that down, you know. Just so I don't forget
Get Dom yogurt pots for Christmas this year.
yogurt
Just did a
pots.
bit of brand advertising here as well. Clean
So
canteen. Apparently, it's very. Oh, I can't. Oh,
barely see it
it's the blur thing in that. I'll put it next to my head. See if that works.
because it's not a face.
Well, it's a clean canteen. Apparently, it's like a quite an ethical water bottle. I don't know. I think it's meant to be.
I don't know. I've lost mine, so a little bit sad about that.
My wife looked into it to try and get me the most ethical one she could. So good on her.
Isn't she nice?
Yeah, she tries.
Try.
She manages more than me, I think.
Who should move on before you get yourself in trouble? Right. Next one. Bit more, not serious, but a bit more thought has to go into it. So while I was on my way back from a massage today, I was just randomly thinking, you know, when people say they can hear the voice of God, right?
Yeah.
Or God's telling them to do this, that, or whatever. How do you think they got to that stage? And do you think it's God they're actually hearing, or they're just it's their own what's a better way of phrasing it? It's like their subconscious rather than God, because it's always been something that's like sort of fascinated me. Like even you hear it in like church, I cannot speak today at all. You hear it in church all the time, like, oh, you know, I woke up this morning, God would tell me this, and then they lead into whatever sermon they were saying. You're like, okay, interesting. You're not gonna explain how you and God are just talking, you know? It'll be nice. Just take 2 minutes out of that. Because like sometimes I think about it, like when I'm like, if it's a God talking to me or is it my own subconscious? You know, when you do certain things like or things you should know, things you know you shouldn't be doing. It's like, is this sort of my own subconscious? Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Or is it just a higher power, is God?
Yeah.
So it's something that's always fascinated me.
It's an interesting topic. Obviously, I can only talk about it from a Christian perspective, which I will do. For me, when I think obviously sometimes you can hear your own voice and you can think it's something from God, or at other times I think you can hear God. I don't think God generally, in my experience, talks to people with a audible voice. I think generally speaking, I guess for me, the more you're in step with God, obviously as Christians we believe you have the Holy Spirit in you, the more you're walking and have walked with God, the more it sort of becomes a part of your daily routine, that when you things might come to you, either when you're reading the Bible or sitting thinking, or sometimes when you're doing things and you might think, it might be that you're like, oh, where did that come from? That doesn't seem to have been something from me. And I think then sometimes you realize that God's speaking to you. There's a lot of times in my life where I've felt a decision. I've been thinking about a decision, and I've sort of come to a conclusion, having prayed about it and thought about it, and sort of decided that that's what God wants me to do, and that's what God's sort of leading me to. And I guess often when I've made those decisions, I think if they are God, sometimes that it's not always, because sometimes it can be quite hard to do that, but sometimes it means things have fallen into place so that sort of happens, and things that seem more than just luck. So I guess when I was on my placement year, for example, well, before I went on the placement year, on my third year, I decided I wanted to become a member of the Christian Union's exec. So I prayed about it and thought about it and decided that was the right thing to do. And normally we have to go on placement year after second year. But I went and spoke to the head of year, I think it was, and sort of explained what I wanted to do. And he was like, "Oh, I remember playing football with the Christian Union, and I guess this is like more important to you. So yeah, I think we can." Basically, he said, "Yeah, we can make that happen." And when I did it as well, another one of my friends sort of they turned out they needed a housemate, so they offered me to stay with them. It was quite late on in the year as well, so that was really good. So yeah, sort of all the doors just sort of came into alignment. And I don't think I heard like an audible voice, but I did feel a sense of that's just the right thing to do. But I think also at other times you can hear what you think is a voice of God, and it's just your own desires and your own ego getting in the way. There's often, and I think sometimes you can go the wrong way doing that, especially when you sort of feel temptation, you want to do something, and you think afterwards, you think, I shouldn't have done that. And I think actually a lot of the time it's thinking about whether it sort of fits with God's character. And the understanding from things like the Bible. For me, the Bible details what is right and wrong, and as we walk through life, we can see, is that contrary to the Bible? So, for example, like if you felt like, oh, is God telling me to go and cheat on my wife? God's very clear in the Bible and things like, yeah, don't do that. So if you're feeling that urge or you're feeling that temptation, then I think that's probably not of God. And you probably need to spend a bit of time thinking about why that's coming along. So yeah, I think it's hard, and I think actually spending a lot of time with other people and listening to God and spending time meditating and reading the Bible, for me as a Christian, that's where I think you're going to find God, and making time in your day to try and listen whatever time you have. Yeah, sorry, I ended up speaking a long time on that. Go on.
No, that's absolutely fine. No, I was thinking along the same lines, because there'll be other times as well, like you'll be in church and someone will approach you and be like, "Oh, God's telling me to tell you this," and I'm like, because I'm like, fair enough, you could do. I don't know, because obviously I'm not this all-seeing power and all-hearing power, but I'm like, what are the chances of possibility? You know what I mean? You have this, and sometimes they have the specific measures, or sometimes I'll just look at them like, thanks, but they had nothing to do with me, but sure. You know what I mean? So like, that's when I get weirded out by that, because then they'll be like, God just talked to me, he told me to tell you this. Or am I thinking, maybe am I just jealous of like the ability they have? Because obviously as Christians you all have different abilities, different gifts as well. So I'm like, is that a bit more ego as well? Am I jealous of what you have? I'm like, can I not hear directly? So I don't know. There's a few things that like sort of play in my mind, but I'm like, if it was meant for me to have it, I would have had it. So I try not to overly stress about it.
Yeah, I think you probably hear God more than you think, that when you're making decisions, if you're praying and asking, then if you feel an inclination of a way to go, then I think if you're genuinely seeking God, then I think if you're seeking God and you're praying and thinking about it and genuinely trying to listen to the right way to go, then I think you're probably, when you finally make the decision, it's probably the one that you feel like God's leading you towards. And I think that's often how we hear God speak. And sometimes we talk about prophecies and things and words of knowledge and things. And yeah, we get those. So I think if someone speaks something over you or into your life, then you need to weigh it, and weigh whether that is actually true for you or true for what God's calling you to. Because often, well, as a Christian, we believe that the Bible says the devil masquerades as an angel of light sometimes. So sometimes people either speak from their own insecurities and their own temptations and issues, and sometimes they're also misled by, I believe, the devil at times.
Yeah.
So you do have to weigh what people say, because sometimes they're just saying it out of their own viewpoint. And yes, sometimes it is God, and a lot of the people it is. So I think you need to think about, is it someone you trust?
Yeah.
Like, it'd be different if a stranger spoke to you, or if someone like you and I have quite a close relationship. So if you and I spoke to each other about God, then it's probably a bit different.
Yeah.
And B, then also, does it resonate with what you think God's saying actually, and what you think God's saying to you? Because if it doesn't, then it might not be from God. It might be, but there's quite a possibility that it's not. So,
because I think I might experience in a slightly different way, not necessarily like I say, like a voice, but more or less in my own, what I say in my own ideas, but some of the ideas that I have, or if I'm struggling with something, like to think of something, they'll be like, boom, this idea will come. And like, I know that definitely wasn't me, because 20 minutes ago, I could barely have a thought of my own. So I think maybe that's the way I experience, but rather than hearing like, oh, go speak to this person, tell them this story.
yeah.
I'd rather hear this, you're working on this project, whatever. Here's an idea, boom, go work on that idea.
Yeah. For me, most of the time, I hear it like that. I hear like, what about, I have thoughts and ideas and things to do. Occasionally, I hear something like God saying, maybe something will pop into my head. I'll be sitting either praying or thinking, and occasionally a words pops into my head for someone specific, and not like an audible voice, but like, I remember saying to one person once at a meeting, I just, and it was quite general, really. But I can't remember what they were speaking on. But I just remember talking to this girl, going over to this girl, and saying, "I think God wants to say you're not left out, or you're not the odd one out, or something like that." And I just remember looking back a few minutes later, she had just burst into tears, and whatever the message was and whatever she was going through in that moment, it just really resonated with her, because she came over to me afterwards and said, "Yeah, what you said was really like right for me." And for me, it was like, that's really generic, and I don't like generic words generally, because I think they could just be like, you could say anything and it can be relevant to somebody. But for whatever reason, in that moment, that girl needed to hear that. And we were younger.
So, I don't know if you laugh at that. Like, all I keep thinking in my mind is like, you just made a grown woman cry.
I must confess, I have a terrible habit of making people cry. One of my friends
in this lovely message, and then I was conveying through my brain, just made a grown woman cry.
I think they were happy tears.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a strange one. I never hear an audible voice. I think the longer I walk with God, the more I think my thoughts and often that he does put thoughts and words into my head, but it becomes sort of a natural part of your life. You don't hear an audible voice for me. You hear it in the Bible and in thoughts that come to your mind. You go, I think that's God prompting me to something.
I think that's quite a satisfying answer. I mean, there's no way really you can answer that, to be honest. Everyone has different experiences. But just so, like I say earlier, I was just thinking about it before we were doing the setup for this, and I was like, yeah, that would be something interesting to talk about.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It'd be interesting to hear how other people hear it. Some people see it in nature and all sorts of things, in art, and people do interpretive dance of what they think God's saying, and it's cool. It's cool. There's many ways, and variety is brilliant.
This is very true. I think we'll end it there. I think that'll be it.
There you go. Got deep.
Got very deep. I think we're gonna have a better outro. So I'll just be like, I've been Steven Matembu. This has been Dom. Marveling in the Madness. Done.
Peace out.
Like and subscribe.